He was on my show as well. Spoke of. Very good. Thank you. So it'll be broadcast in 2D and 3D formats, so people, viewers can watch it on the mobile phones in any way they like it. So
I see that Singaporeans always watch on their mobile phone.
yes, yes, especially now. Just give me one more to make sure that the adjustment is correct. Yes, we're in the right position. Worldwide, right now there are 40% now women watching it on the mobile applications. An increase of 20% for the last 6 months. So it was good. Professor Oren, is it? Oren?
Oren Yiftachel.
Oren
Yiftachel.
Yiftachel. Sorry. Professor Oren Yiftachel from the University of
Ben-Gurion and Beersheba.
Ben-Gurion. Sorry. Just forgive me, because I'm trying to tell people I'm taking my pens. I bought a pack of pens. Basically, I'll be asking about, my questions will be about the land reforms, and which is an area of your expertise. And because I was in Israel for once in every 2 years.
Okay.
I had a very interesting insight, especially the people were telling me about they wish to see a two-state solution. And also, you also shared about the issue of is really politicians versus public opinion. And so I will be touching on some issue on this area, and also the issue of class system, would that change, and how does politics how would the reforms be, what kind of steps that Israel will be taking to enhance its reforms in the coming future. So yes, so it is your call. So what we're going to do is I will count to 3 and then we will begin. Just look at the camera, and after I've done my short introduction, I will turn to you, and then we can just speak to me. You don't have to face the camera, doctor. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hi. Sorry. We'll count. 2, 2. Hi. Welcome to the National Queen's Choice Online News. This is the Stienberg Review. Today we have Dr. Oren Yiftachel, who is actually sorry. Did I pronounce correctly?
Yiftachel. Three syllables.
Yiftachel. Sorry.
Difficult name.
No. I'll try to make it easy. I did it. 1, 2, and 3. Hi, welcome to the National Queen's Choice Online News. I'm Robin Stienberg, and today we have a very distinguished guest from Israel, and he's none other than Dr. Oren Yiftachel, who is actually a professor from Ben-Gurion, who will be sharing with us some insights on the planning and infrastructure of Israel. Dr. Oren, thank you for joining us here at the National Queen's Choice. Tell us about what's happening right now and the situation in Israel in terms of the planning infrastructure.
Well, Israel has gone through major reforms in the last few years, both in the land and planning system, which one might call neoliberal reform. That is, trying to privatize much of the land, try to give more room for entrepreneurs, and at the same time, some of the decision making has been more centralized in government bodies, or like the Council of Israel Land. So in that respect, on the one hand, it's more privatized. The state land is being sold. Planning approval is quicker with they wish it to be quicker with new committees. And on the other hand, it's also more centralized in terms of decision making. So the reform may, and that's the wish of the government, create more economic development, but I think they are less democratic, and people have much less of a say in this system.
Now, what kind of challenges do the people of Israel, as well as the Arab community, as well as the Palestinians, are facing right now And can that be resolved in the next coming 12 months?
Well, if we started with the land reform, one of the problems is that it really didn't take account at all of the Palestinians. Both the Palestinian citizens of Israel, which constitute almost a fifth of the population, which have land shortage, they need allocation from the government, their land has been zoned for other uses and taken away from them. So the reform doesn't do anything for them, and in fact it will probably move more resources to the Jewish community. And then the second population are the Palestinians in the occupied territories that have been colonized by Israel. And they have, first of all, they lost a lot of land as well, but secondly, they have the issues that are even more fundamental, like citizenship, movement, very, very basic infrastructure that they are denied. And they're also extreme poverty in some parts. So you have the reform not doing much for the most needed population. There's also some Jewish poor groups that also will not be helped by privatization. So the reform will help mainly the rich, mainly the Jewish population. In other ways, the Palestinians in the occupied territories, have the issue to deal with the colonial rule, that is, rule of another state where they don't have any political power to influence, they don't have citizenship, that state comes to them and colonize them, and that of course has to stop. The international community and international law and the Israeli and Palestinian citizens also have to try and stop this unacceptable situation and bring the Palestinians forward.
Now, looking forward right now, do you foresee a two-state solution? Will the Israeli government right now begin to realize that the people of Israel want peace with the Palestinians, and the Palestinian people wish the same as well? And do you feel that the people of Israel right now, in a most civil and modern society that we live in the 21st century, they too feel that it is a necessity to have a two-state relations?
Well, I definitely concur that both Jews and Palestinians need and deserve peace. They're two traumatized nations, that the histories are full of sorrow and eviction and loss, and they both deserve it. However, I'm not sure that the two-state solution as is now on the table will bring peace. Not because I don't believe in Palestinian state, Palestinian sovereignty, it's because it appears almost 20 years after the Oslo Agreement that Israel is trying to prevent in all its might the erection of a Palestinian state, while at the same time they talk as if they are pursuing peace. So it's a double speech, very dangerous, because it gives Israel legitimacy to continue and colonize Palestine, whereas they talk peace on a different level. So the two-state solution at the moment appears to be like a mirage, like something that is on the horizon, and you'll never get there because Israel is doing the opposite on the ground. So I think a different approach, and in my lecture today here to this forum, I advanced the approach of a confederation that is some kind of unity with open movement between the two systems that will not create a ghetto state, which appears to be, even if the two-state solution is happening, with all the restrictions, it will be a Palestinian ghetto state, which is possibly be more cause of a conflict rather than peace.
Now, speaking about conflict and peace, what do you see between the Israeli politicians as well as the public opinion? Because I got some opinion, especially from the public, saying that the Arabs have been, discriminated in many ways. And do you see the rise of the apartheid attitude or characteristics in Israel?
Well, first of all, I have to say that most Israelis and Palestinians want peace in various ways, and the leaderships are failing us. The political leaderships on both sides, and especially the Israelis that have more power, they could have peace. The Netanyahu government could actually move to peace. There is the obstacles, only the obstacle that the government puts on itself, that is with the settlements. And so this is an abysmal failure and a betrayal of the people, that 60, 70, sometimes even 75% of people vote for peace with two states, and the government is not moving there. But beyond that, you're right that I see the scenario happening with the absence of a Palestinian state, of what I call creeping apartheid. We more and more move to a situation where Jews have privileges, have better citizenship on the basis of their identity. And Palestinians, just because they are born Palestinian, have marginalized second or third class citizenship under the same regime. And this is very dangerous in the long term because it will make us into an apartheid situation that is very, very difficult to emerge from.
Now, do you foresee in the next coming election the Israelis will have more power and will probably put a tremendous pressure to have a total reform or should I say a new Israel where it will actually implement a two-state system?
Well, depends when the elections are. In the Middle East, 1 year is a long time. It's supposed to be in a year, and even 6 months is a long time. But as the landscape appears now, there's no competition to Netanyahu. He's established himself. He's been prime minister for 2 terms already, and he's quite powerful. And manipulates and distorts and does all the things that politicians do. So much so that Time magazine crowned him King Bibi. So unfortunately, at the moment, I think if the elections were soon, he will win again. But because it's coalition politics, he could have a different coalition, more with the center and left parties. Not likely, but there is a possibility. It happened in the past. And secondly, things could get worse. And if things could get worse, we saw in the past, whenever the Likud center-right and right government fell, it was after some kind of intifada or war, when people saw that they're not offering any solution.
Dr. Oren, what do you see or foresee right now? How does the international community play in terms of trying to encourage peace between Israel and the Palestinians? Do you think countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries, even including Turkey as well as the Middle East, have a key role or even a stakehold with the peace process?
Well, I think so far the international community, like our leaders, have not done enough. In fact, they've done very little, because Israel breaches international law that protects all the states. It's not just protecting the Palestinians. Israel is not fulfilling the UN decisions, Security Council decisions, to allow space for Palestine to come as an independent state. It doesn't allow the Palestinians to be citizens. It is in breach of so many conventions and international legal documents. So the international community is not doing enough, is not doing hardly anything. And really allowing the United States and Israel that access to dominate that part of the Middle East. And with a changing map of power in the world, and with, I think, maybe the interest, perhaps Singapore, perhaps more likely India or China, there should be international pressure to force Israel to play by the rules like most other states. Of course, not all other states, but most other states. They don't conquer other countries, they don't settle, they don't prevent the self-determination from another nation. And if Israel does that, it will be in the benefit of the international community and in the benefit of Israel.
Now, in the Middle East right now, there's a lot of changes among regimes. How does this landscape changes the way Israel perceives in terms of security and as well as the security of the borders?
The Arab Spring, you mean?
Yes, that's right, the Arab Spring. And will that change completely the way Israel will plan its infrastructure and urban planning?
Well, the relation to urban planning is a little bit more distant. It's like a second level. But the Arab Spring, some people say the Arab Winter, is very crucial for Israel. And all the progressive elements, and especially people that are interested in peace, are very much hoping that the democratic forces in the Arab world will prevail. Because democracy, in the short term, it could bring up the Islamic discourse. But in the long term, as we know, democracies usually don't fight one another. right? They have other forms of resolution. And this is what Israel actually needs. It needs a democratic Middle East, even if it's Islamic and democratic, like Turkey, for example, like Egypt now. Time will tell, things are very volatile, and if Israel continues to colonize the Palestinians, maybe even these democracies will not have patience and time for Israel. But in the long term, I think a democratic Middle East will be good for those processes, and then later on it will affect, hopefully, that both in Egypt and hopefully in Syria as well, in Lebanon and Israel, there will be more justice in the allocation of land and housing as it should be under democracy.
Now, what kind of master plan does Israel have in mind right now for the next 5 years in terms of urban and infrastructure between the Palestinian and the Israelis? Would there be more land allocated for the Jews rather than for the Palestinian and the Arabs?
Well, it appears like, as I showed in the lecture in great detail, is that the state land, by 97-98% of them are allocated to the Jews. It's almost synonymous in Israeli planning, and this is very problematic. Arabs have some private land left, and they do get some state land, but very little. So it appears like, under privatization, they will not get any land, they'll have to buy it. Because they are the lower classes, it will be very difficult. Probably some wealthy Palestinians will be able to buy, but the majority will not. So privatization is bad for the poor, it's bad for the minorities. In terms of state land itself, in the West Bank it's only allocated for settlements or maybe for roads, but not for Palestinian construction. And inside Israel, it can help the Palestinian with economic development, but the master plan of Israel is first and foremost directed at the Jews, then at the Palestinian citizens of Israel, and only last Palestinian territories. Even though Israel settles all this land, they are the last to get the benefit. And I think we should change that.
But even then, so isn't it true that the land that is sold to the Jewish people is only for like 99 years? Is that correct? And also for agriculture, it has a limited time as well. They used to be before.
Yeah, no, there is by and large, the majority of the land is by leasehold. And I think some of it in Singapore is like this. Definitely in Sri Lanka, and some crown land in Australia is done like that. But for all intents and purposes, it is private land. Because even if you have a lease for 98 years, you can sell the land. You can normally extend the lease if you want to stay or give it to your children. So it's and it's marketable. So it doesn't make a great difference, and especially not for housing prices that become so high in Israel, because it's a commodity.
Once again, Dr. Oren, for sharing with us your insights with the National Critics' Choice. But before you go, could you give us some key elements or probably advice, probably what policymakers and even maybe NGOs could do to help to establish, probably pressure or encouragement to policymakers in Israel?
Well, the old truth that we've come to face again and again also hold in Israel-Palestine. That's the best sustainable society, the one that survives for the future, the one that prospers, both on the Israeli and Palestinian side, is best be built on the principles of equality and freedom, political freedom, economic equality, and the proportional and just sharing of the land by all the groups, and the recognition of the groups by society. So when we look at the most successful and sustainable societies in the world, we know where we have to go. Be more equal, be more just, accommodate and recognize one another, and then we'll be the best place in the world, even better than Singapore.
Definitely. Well, Dr. Oren, thank you for sharing with us.
Okay.
And Robin Stienberg, thank you for sharing with me your time here at the National Critics' Choice, the Stienberg Review, and with Dr. Oren from Ben-Gurion University. Once again, have a good week ahead. Thank you.
Wow, that was a long interview.
Oh, sorry.
Normally on TV it's like 3 minutes. But,
is that